Hello and welcome to Raju Notes channel, your pit stop for weekly current affairs updates. The updates tailor-made for students taking all kinds of competitive exams like UPSC, civils, defense and placement interviews. Please subscribe to the channel and stay updated every Sunday. The 12th edition of the India-Kyrgyzstan Joint Special Forces Exercise Kandahar 12 started last week in Kyrgyzstan. The 14-day exercise will continue to 23rd of this month. The aim of the exercise is to exchange experiences and best practices in counter-terrorism and special forces operation in urban and mountainous high-altitude terrain scenarios. The Defense Ministry in a statement said that the exercise will also focus on developing special forces skills of sniping, complex building intervention and mountain craft. It will also provide an opportunity for both sides to fortify defense ties while addressing common concerns of international terrorism and extremism. The exercise reaffirms the commitment of India and Kyrgyzstan to foster peace, stability, and security in the region. Since its inception in 2011, Exercise Kandahar 12 has evolved into an annual training event. The alternating venues between India and Kyrgyzstan reflects the unique dimension of the thriving strategic relationship between both the countries. The last edition of the exercise was conducted in India in January last year. The Lok Sabha this week took up the Bills of Lading Bill 2024 for consideration and passing. It seeks to replace the Indian Bills of Lading Act 1856, which provides a legal framework for issuance of bills of lading. A bill of lading refers to a document issued by a freight carrier to a shipper. It contains details including the type, quantity, condition, and destination of the goods being carried. Union Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways Sarbananda Sonowal moved the bill in the House. He said the bill is very important for the shipping sector, particularly to enhance trading and commercial activities. The third India-Cambodia Foreign Office consultations (FOC) were held in Siem Reap, Cambodia this week. The consultations were held in a warm and a friendly atmosphere and provided an opportunity to review the entire gamut of bilateral relations, including political cooperation, trade and investment, defense and security, development assistance, heritage conservation and restoration, and consular issues. The two sides also exchanged views on regional and multilateral issues with mutual interest. The Ministry of External Affairs, in its statement, said that both nations expressed satisfaction with progress made across various sectors of bilateral engagement and agreed to explore new avenues of cooperation, including health and digital technologies. The Indian delegation was led by Jaideep Majumdar, Secretary East, and the Cambodian delegation was led by Secretary of State and Foreign Affairs Ministry and International Cooperation, Dr. Yu An Kiang. Cambodia is an important pillar in India's Act East policy and vision of Indo Pacific. Cambodia is also a key partner of India in the global south. India has imposed an anti dumping duty of up to 986 US dollars per ton for 5 years on a chemical used for water treatment imported from China and Japan to protect domestic industry from the cheap inbound shipments. The Ministry of Finance, in its notification, said that the decision has been taken following recommendations from the Directorate General of the Trade Remedies and Investigation Arm of Ministry of Commerce to impose the duty on trichloroisocyanuric acid. The Directorate, in its recommendation, has stated that the domestic industry has suffered material injury due to the dumped imports in India from China and Japan. The ministry said that anti dumping measures are taken to ensure fair trade and provide a level playing field to the domestic industry. South Korea and the United States on 10th March began their annual joint military exercises, but they paused live firing training. Seoul is investigating how two of its fighter jets mistakenly bombed a civilian area during a warm up drill last week. The modified Freedom Shield exercise, which combines computer simulation and field training and runs through March 20, drew the condemnation of North Korea. Pyongyang issued a statement of calling the drill a dangerous provocation act that increases the risk of military conflict. About 30 people were injured, two of them seriously, when two South Korean KF 16 fighter jets mistakenly fired 8 Mk 82 bombs on a civilian area in Pocheon, a town near North Korean border. The bombing occurred while South Korea and US forces were engaging in a live fire drill ahead of a larger Freedom Shield exercise. India has signed a memorandum of understanding with Armenia for cooperation in the field of medical product regulation. The MOU was signed in the presence of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Foreign Minister of Armenia Ararat Mariozan in Delhi last week. The two ministers agreed to explore cooperation in digital technologies and pharmaceuticals. They are also reviewed the whole range of growing Indian-Armenia bilateral cooperation, including the areas of political exchanges, trade, economics, connectivity, education, culture, and people-to-people contacts. The two nations also signed an MOU on cooperation between the Sushma Swaraj Institute of Foreign Service and the diplomatic schools of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Armenia. During the meeting, Dr. Jaishankar said that India aims to strengthen its ties with Armenia, which are deeply rooted in history. He said that both the countries share good political cooperation and have seen an increase in bilateral trade and defense collaboration. He also exchanged views on regional and global matters of shared interest. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has become the first Indian to receive the highest civilian award of Mauritius, Grand Commander of the Order of the Star and Key of Indian Ocean. Mauritius Prime Minister Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramagulam made the announcement during an Indian diaspora event in Port Louis last week. The honor also adds Mr. Modi's growing list of international accolades, making it the 21st such recognition. In a special gesture, Prime Minister Modi also announced the issuance of Overseas Citizens of India card to his Mauritian counterpart Naveen Ramgulam and his spouse Veena Ramgulam. Mauritius Prime Minister thanked Prime Minister Modi and the Government of India for granting OCI cards to the seventh generation of Indian descent. Elon Musk's satellite internet service Starlink will finally become legitimately available in India as parent company SpaceX has announced a partnership with Airtel and Jio. As part of the agreement, which is subject to SpaceX receiving the authorization to sell Starlink services in India, customers can buy Starlink gear from Airtel retail stores and install it to receive satellite based high speed internet in remote and far flung areas of the country. Starlink has been waiting to enter into India for months, facing stringent regulatory curbs from the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India (TRAI) and challenges from India's leading telecom operators. Reliance Industries chairman Mukesh Ambani urged the government to auction satellite spectrum instead of allocating it. He was joined by Bharti Airtel's Sunil Bharti Mittal against Musk's stance that highlighted the global agreement of spectrum allocation. The announcement comes days after Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Elon Musk in Washington during his visit to the US. They discussed issues including space, mobility, technology, and innovation. The Parliament in India has passed the Oil Field Regulation and Development Amendment Bill 2024 with the Lok Sabha approving it in this week. The bill seeks to amend the Oil Fields Regulation and Development Act 1948. It expands the definition of mineral oils, which include naturally occurring hydrocarbons, coal, bed, methane, and shale gas. The legislation clarifies that coal and lignite or helium will not be included in the mineral oils. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced a 500 crore rupees corpus for Manipur to establish a contingency fund. She told Lok Sabha last week that the center is providing all possible financial assistance for the faster recovery of Manipur's economy. The finance minister was replying to a discussion on the Manipur Appropriation Bill 2025 and the Manipur Appropriation Vote on Account Bill 2025 in Lok Sabha. Both bills were passed by voice vote. Ms. Sitharaman asserted that the overall law and order situation has improved in the northeast state except for some sporadic incidents. She said 400 crore rupees have been provided for the operation of relief camps in Manipur and under Prime Minister Awas Yojana PMAY. 7,000 houses have been approved to provide housing for those who were displaced. Manipur is currently under the president rule, consequent to proclamation issued under Article 356 of the Constitution last month. The powers of legislature of the state are exercised by or under the authority of the parliament. The finance minister has tabled the Manipur budget for 2025-26 in parliament on Monday, envisaging an expenditure of over 35,103 crore rupees. Ukraine has backed US proposal for 30-day ceasefire and agreed to immediate negotiation with Russia after talks in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia last week. The development comes after 3 years since the conflict began between Kyiv and Moscow. After more than 8 hours of negotiations with Ukrainian officials in Jeddah, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Washington will now take the offer to Russia. In addition, the United States also agreed to resume military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. In a joint statement, Ukraine and the US said they will conclude as soon as possible a deal securing Washington's access to Ukraine's mineral wealth. Ukrainian President Zelensky was to sign the deal with White House before the dramatic showdown on 28th of last month in which US President Donald Trump and Vice President JD Vance confronted the Ukrainian president. Meanwhile, Moscow said it has ample reasons to distrust Ukraine and its Western backers, giving their history of broken promises. He accused Kyiv of constantly undermining its own interests with each act of cheating. However, Russia has agreed to go ahead with the negotiations. The Indian Space Research Organization ISRO has successfully completed the undocking of two satellites, part of the space docking experiment SPARDEX, marking a significant milestone in India's space exploration journey. Union Minister for Science and Technology Dr. Jitendra Singh has congratulated ISRO for its successful demonstration of the undocking experiment as part of the SPARDEX mission. In his post on a social media site X, the minister said it will pave the way for a smooth conduct of ambitious future missions, including Bharatiya Antariksha Station Chandrayaan 4 and Gaganyaan. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has announced a new initiative aimed at improving efficiencies at the 80-year-old World Organization and making it more cost effective. The UN 80 initiative will come up with a proposal in the areas of rapidly identifying efficiencies and improvements in the way the United Nations works. It will also review the implementation of all mandates given by the United Nations by member states, which have significantly increased in the recent years. While announcing the initiative in New York yesterday, Mr. Guterres said that the world is facing challenges on every front. He also voiced concerns over shrinking resources and liquidity crisis amid an environment of uncertainty and unpredictability. SpaceX and NASA have launched a mission to bring back US astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore from International Space Station ISS, where they have been stranded for 9 months. The liftoff took place last night with a Falcon 9 rocket carrying a Dragon spacecraft on the Crew 10 mission. Crew 10 is the 10th crew rotation mission under SpaceX human space transportation system and the 11th flight with the crew abroad the ISS station through NASA's Commercial Crew program, including the Demo 2 test flight. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore have been stranded on the ISS for 9 months after reaching there in June last year. A series of helium leaks and thruster failures marred the trip to the space station, setting off months of investigation by NASA and Boeing on how best to proceed. Former central bank Mark Carney has been sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Canada. 59-year-old Carney replaces Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who was in office for 9 years. A new cabinet of 13 men and 11 women were sworn in, smaller than Trudeau's 37-member team. Addressing his first press conference after his cabinet was sworn in, Mr. Carney said that Canada will never become a part of the United States. He said that Canada is fundamentally a different country.
Well, that's all, friends, for this week's updates. See you soon next Sunday on the same channel. Till then, take care. Bye bye.